Movies always show a big conventional military movement when aliens land, but in reality it would probably be a much more clandestine affair, and it would likely be just one or two of the Tier 1 units that are really there. Or perhaps there's already a unit out there that does this. With the creation of the Space Force, whose primary remit is to enable communication and infrastructure, as well as defend America's interests in space, it looks like having a military service that is formally focused on space shows that the US government views space as a future military frontier. Presumably, Space Force itself doesn't have a direct action element yet, for obvious reasons, so if Space Force were able to establish communication with extraterrestrials, and those aliens are guided to our planet, this would undoubtedly trigger an immediate and significant response from the government and military. But which special mission unit could get the call to be on the ground for that initial meeting? And what would their roles be? If extraterrestrials did land on Earth, it's almost certain that the CIA would be involved, especially since in 2023, whistleblowers claimed that the CIA had already been involved in UFO retrievals. And if the CIA are present at a potentially dangerous liaison, they would of course have Special Operations Group operators with them. The Special Operations Group is responsible for operations that include clandestine or covert elements with which the US government does not want to be overtly associated or exposed to. Its members are called Paramilitary Operations Officers or Specialized Skills Officers. It's possible that the Special Operations Group could even be the only Tier 1 element on the ground, given the CIA aren't renowned for sharing. One of SOG's greatest skills is their speed of deployment, so this would likely mean they would be on the ground before the arrival, to perform their other great skill: surveillance. We've heard about how covert and effective their surveillance capabilities are from legendary SOG member Billy Waugh's account tracking UBL whilst in Khartoum. They'll be able to provide forward reconnaissance of the meeting point on what arrives and what they do to the wider Special Activities Centre, whilst also being more than capable of engaging if it should get hostile. The next unit that comes to mind as definitely being involved if aliens were to arrive would be CAG. Given that Delta operate within the military structure, it seems most likely that they would be the army's pick to be on the ground, for a couple of reasons. Their experience with unconventional warfare would be a very useful skill to have at a meeting like this. Being trained to react and adjust in rapidly changing environments with unknown enemies and unknown capabilities seems like it would be a necessary skill in a first encounter with aliens. If the situation were to turn aggressive, their ability to produce overwhelming firepower could be critical in delaying the aliens just long enough for a bigger conventional force or mechanized units to arrive. The other big reason for Delta also being on the ground is that they are covert. Not only covert in how they operate in a scenario where aliens land amicably, but also in operational security. Being relatively small in size means that fewer operators would have the knowledge of the encounter, so keeping this a secret would be far more likely compared to a larger conventional unit. If there was one unit which is almost guaranteed to be involved, it's the 160th. Given Space Force sit within the Air Force umbrella, the 160th would definitely be on the scene in some capacity. Their remit is to provide helicopter support for special operations. Regardless of which military units are on the ground, the 160th would almost certainly be the aviators taking them there. So the Night Stalkers would likely be the unit tasked with not only taking the operators to the meeting site, but also the delegation to meet the aliens. Their incredible skill sets to insert or extract under unbelievably hostile conditions would almost guarantee their presence at this first encounter. The next unit that definitely have skills and capabilities that are useful if aliens landed is SEAL Team 6 or DEVGRU. If the aliens were to arrive in aircraft like we imagine, then having the Navy involved might even sway the meeting to take place near a coastline. This is because the biggest weapons are on ships, so having these nearby in case things turn hostile means that the ships could engage the craft more effectively than with just small arms fire from units on the ground, particularly if they're larger craft rather than smaller. Obviously, DEVGRU don't operate these, but it gives them the platform to operate from, so if this scenario were to happen, perhaps it seems the SEALs would be on board. One thing that the SEALs have shown they're very effective at is hostage rescue. So if one of the human delegation that meets the extraterrestrials is taken prisoner for whatever reason, SEAL Team 6 would be perfect to perform the rescue operation. The other task DEVGRU could fulfill at the encounter is personal protection. It's likely a delegation of humans would be meeting the visitors, and we've seen how DEVGRU are utilising this role with President Karzai under hazardous conditions and in very hostile environments. so it could be that they're utilised for both of these roles should the encounter take place. The last unit that could be present is one we don't know about. Perhaps the military has learned from its history and there already is a unit who holds this responsibility. Training specifically with advanced weapons, focusing less on urban warfare or hostage rescue and more in small arms tactics where rapid, overwhelming firepower can facilitate a safe and speedy withdrawal. Or even surveillance and reconnaissance with non-standard equipment from different distances on fast-moving vessels. There have also been claims that the Pentagon has a UFO retrieval team which was outed by the New York Times. Which branch of the military this unit lives under, who knows, but if there is a specific unit who holds the responsibility for all aspects of meeting with off-world entities, they'd clearly be on the ground. So if aliens were to land in the US, it's likely that a combination of these elite units would be deployed, each bringing their unique skills and capabilities to handle the situation and all playing critical roles. Deciding on which special missions unit is deployed would all depend on how many aliens arrive, whether we know their intentions or not, and the expected size of the crafts they pilot. Which unit do you think would be most crucial in an alien landing scenario? Do you think there are other units that should be involved? And most interestingly, has this already happened? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content.